Okay, we're going to treat this next session pretty much like we did the last one. So we're going to have three speakers, and then we're going to get them to come and sit up here, and we'll field questions to them afterwards. So first up is, and we're now getting into the real meat of retail, proper retail discussions for the next three presentations. So I'm first of all going to ask Sandy from London College of Fashion to come up and speak. Is Sandy in the room? Ah, there you are, right at the back. Sorry, the lights here are so glaring, you can't see the back of the room. So please put your hands together for Sandy.
If you're gonna save the day, and you hear it what I say, I feel your touch, your kiss is not enough. And if you believe in
Thank you. The reason why I put this music up was this is actually one of our clients which we actually work with. Tokomi, you probably are familiar with this song. I will go through a few more things of how fashion, music, these all interrelate with digital media. But first I'd like to do a little introduction as to what I do. Obviously I'm Sandy Balendra. I am a media and entertainment solicitor as well. VMM Music and Fashion is something that I run myself, and also lecture at the London College of Fashion. What I do, basically, is I help creatives in the creative industry. So we're talking DJs, musicians, of the sort, fashion designers. Basically, what we do is we collaborate them with, with brands and sponsorship deals and make sure that they get the best deal out of this. So if I go to the next slide. Okay, this is one of my favorite pictures or depictions of Caravaggio. Obviously, you might have seen this already, but what it shows is Instagram and obviously Narcissi. He's actually looking at, rather than the pond or the river, he's actually looking at Instagram. But this is actually the culture that we're actually in at the moment. And if you think about it, digital media and fashion aren't really that much, separate. Fashion started with the whole concept of being narcissistic in a way. You're worried about what you're wearing, how you're perceived to other people. And digital media now pretty much is using the same concept because we are concerned with how the outside world are perceiving us. So this is pretty much one of my favorite ones. And I wrote there, internet has changed culture, and culture is much more powerful than marketing itself. And which is why social media is a huge impact, not only on big brands, but smaller brands as well. This is another funny one that I wanted to put up. Obviously, it's not a real billboard, but when you walk across any road, you see a billboard, but you don't really pay attention to what it says. That kind of, it's an impact on us as a culture now. We don't really look at billboards. We don't look at just visuals anymore. What is it that really, kind of excites us, and what makes us want to interact with a brand? And what I wrote there is, advertising media puts a brand first, which is essentially what they do. They just put the picture up. Social media, however, it puts the user first. So we, as a person, as a user, we're the main person. And it's going back to that picture of Caravaggio's picture there, because we are concerned with us. It's all about me, me, me. That's the culture that we're living in right now. So social media basically puts that back on us. And I find that clients are really more interested in how we are helping them as a person, as a unique individual, not just as a worldwide concept. Okay, this one. Yeah, basically, what I was trying to bring across here was that, we're all so kind of immune to the whole, advertising world of digital media. Instagram, for example, when you scroll down, you see constant adverts. You get 50% off deals. Put some kind of code in, and you get a percentage off. But do we really buy that? I don't think that's really relevant anymore, to be honest. And what I'm trying to bring across is, how do we engage with the customer? Thank you. How do we engage with the customer and consumer in a way that kind of plays to them and what they're interested in? And we are kind of narcissistic selves, if we think about it. Again, social media is about us, how we portray ourselves to the outside world. How do we interact with a consumer in such a way that they are the main person? It's really about them and what will grab their attention. And obviously, Snapchat is one of the biggest ways of doing that. And if I bring back an example of what I've done in VMM, we've actually run tours in Ibiza, and sorry, I'll just get my breath back. But what we do is we manage artists, and one example is one of my musicians. She's actually played in Ibiza. She did a whole live show, and what we did is we also projected that across to those who couldn't make it to the event. We projected it across to other UK individuals, companies who'd like to see that. So the way that we did it obviously was using digital media. That's the fastest way that we could get that message across. So that's something that I use on a day-to-day basis on every project that I work with. These are some of the brands that we work with as well. Automatically, you don't associate them with, fashion per se. But you'd be surprised, if I give another example, how Rolls-Royce are very innovative in the way that they've developed certain very scientific kind of base material for use in, it's like basically, how do I explain this? It's basically fire-resistant products, which are obviously clothing material. So that comes again to innovation and fashion. And yeah, again, these are all brands that we've worked with. And I can, I'll go through this in more detail later on. Okay, that again is a depiction of basically what each social media platform does. Facebook, like me, Twitter, listen to me, it's all me, me, me. Again, it's a narcissistic culture that we're in. And again, I believe that the way that you can, best use social media is by putting it back to the user, and how does a user feel, in terms of how is it going to affect them as a person, not just a general concept. If you use Steve Jobs' example of Apple, he's made a product which is universally usable to everyone. It's such an easy platform. How can we do that with fashion? Because fashion's very unique. How are we going to develop something in a way that's going to be, accessible to everyone? Next one. Ethical is a new, okay, this is another interesting point. Ethical is the new black. When we work with celebrities, for example, one thing that, a major impact which they think is going to bring them publicity as well as worldwide recognition is ethical matters. For example, as you know, Stella McCartney, this is one of the biggest platforms. What we do is really look at the user and say, how are you going to interact with the community in such a way that your product is not only impacting, a wide range of sectors, but also how is it going to affect their community as a whole? We're in a point where we are so focused on how and what we put in our bodies. Health is such a big, important, thing for us. So when we look at local communities, there are political issues, there are so many things, social issues, political issues, et cetera, How do we, on a local level, how are we supposed to generate an interest to local consumers as well? And again, the other picture's not very clear, but the message that I was putting across there is that the likes of people like Gucci, Prada, et cetera, they're on one level, but they're not really that much different to a SME, for example, or a smaller company. It's basically digital media allowing us to access the same consumer. So it's no longer a case where, the bigger brands have better accessibility and, they've got the funds, basically, to access everyone. Right now, I think we're more meritocratic because we can actually fairly access every consumer, just as the bigger brands. And again, this picture is kind of, what it really says is, how are we going to be innovative in the future? And this is kind of, I think, a reflection of artificial intelligence and how that's going to affect us in digital media as well. And there are so many things coming up now. I just really very passionate about certain things and certain brands which we're working with. One of them, which I've recently come across, is a situation where, similar to Minority Report, where you walk into a shop and they basically digitally analyze everything, all your content from all your past, and they can tell exactly what type of person or individual you are and advertise to you, as a specific user. I think that's, pretty advanced and amazing, I think, as technology. yeah, I was just thinking, there's quite a few examples, but I'll go through that in a minute. Yeah, the other thing is being effortless is the coolest thing in the world. Obviously, we work with Stella McCartney as well. And, you know, it's pretty obvious that you don't have to try so hard to impress people. And especially with celebrities who we work with, they generally like people that, you know, don't try too hard. So, yeah, going back to, I think I might have gone really fast with these slides, actually. Like, really fast. Yeah, I know, I think, what else did I just say? No, let me go back to technology. And, you know, I put it back to you guys as well. What do you think fashion tech has for the future? And are you excited about what's going to happen in the next 10 years, for example? Because I definitely am very, very excited as to what kind of technology there might be in the future. So I'll put it back to you guys. You know, what do you think? And I guess with a question and answer, we can kind of go through that as well.
I thought what you just said about somebody, when you go into a store, and then, you know, maybe they can send you to a certain department or something.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. I find that really exciting. The fact that it's kind of, you think it's a nerdy thing to think, you know, tech, fashion, you don't really put them together, but actually it's interrelated. There's another concept coming up, which is material-based digital technology. So that's probably something you're aware of as well. And, you know, leather, for example, when we're talking about sustainability, ethical fashion, they're able to actually make leather or produce it in a lab, so it's not real leather, but it's lab-based leather. And again, that whole issue of sustainability, ethical, comes into play.
Are you allowed to call it leather if it's not leather?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Actually, maybe we should save this for some of the discussion, because I have a really interesting point on that.
Okay, great.
On that, when we kind of when we get everybody up, because I think it's a real cool discussion.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Sandy, for now.
Okay. Go take this one.